This is your Hawaiian Volcano summary for March 13th, 2025. We just concluded this week the 13th episode of the ongoing Kīlauea eruption, which started back in December. And here we see the time lapse of the events. The most recent episode taking place up at the summit of Kīlauea. This eruption has been confined to the summit. And we'll take a look at the thermal of that same eruption. Make sure we get back to the beginning. And this was a quick lava flow lasting around roughly 12 hours, a little bit over. And again, very characteristic of the previous lava flows. It feels like we're kind of in Groundhog Tuesdays for Kīlauea with these cycles that we've been going through, and them being basically on weekly. Very interesting time. So we did get a new map released from the USGS. This one is before episode 12. And so it depicts the first 11 episodes. And we can see it's covered much of the crater floor there and extending up to the September 2023 flows. The most recent update from USGS-HVO says that the eruption remains paused. Given current rates of inflation, a new episode is likely to begin within the next 5 to 7 days. Again, inside the national park at the caldera itself. And so far, 13 episodes with variation of pauses. These have been characteristic, most shown in the tilt. So here we have the 1 month tilt plot from UWD. And we can see this as soon as the threshold essentially is exceeded, the eruption starts, we enter this deflationary tilt. And as when the tilt reverses and starts to inflate again, we then see the fountains turn off. So this is that cyclic eruption. We also still can see these, what appears to be these diurnal bulges, these bumps that appear midday each day, and still have yet to hear those really well explained, but they are there. And we do see a rebound of roughly 5 microradians of tilt since the pause in this last episode. We have USGS has a list of the 13 episodes and their start-stop times, and as long as their duration of this one was 13 hours. And we will see how long the pause is for this one. We can see that they've been previously about 5 to 7 days. One of the main things that we've seen that come out of this eruption was a lot of SO2 and tephra. The amount of SO2 that was able to be measured during the peak of this eruption was 40,000 tons a day. And then it backed off to a few thousand tons right as the fountains died off. But it produced a huge amount of pumice, all this tephra, out on the south side of the caldera. It was a place that is closed to visitors. And it says here USGS was able to encounter up to a half a meter or half a yard thick of new deposits a little further down this road. That also has created Pele's hair that has been wafting down into the Ka'u area. And here was some that was found by Bob Martin, who he shared with us at 30 miles away from the eruptive center. So plenty of that fiberglass filament out there. Looking at the SO2, the VOG, we do have still some poor wind conditions, not great wind conditions, moderately bad wind conditions, or air conditions, on the west side of the island. And while on the east side, we got some good quality air still. Transitioning from the state side over to the purple air community monitoring, see a similar trend. East side air is good, west side moderate conditions. So still seeing some impacts of the VOG for those that are still sensitive to it. Looking at earthquakes, we don't have a lot of earthquakes really to talk about, only a good amount of small ones, mostly around the south flank of Kīlauea, as well as a few up at the summit itself, earthquakes themselves, as well as the volcanic tremor diminished as the episode began and then waned. We also have in the bottom left those deep Pāhala earthquakes in blue. Earthquake counts per day, earthquake rates. You see they're still relatively low, even though we are in an ongoing eruption. But once you're in that ongoing eruption, earthquake rates are usually pretty low. Up to Mauna Loa, you can see here the Mauna Loa summit. Okay, and looking at the tilt plots, there's not a lot happening up on Mauna Loa. Tilt remains pretty constant. The one somewhat interesting thing is that over the past little bit, over the past month, we've talked about this inflation on the GPS seen on Mauna Loa, and that seems over the past couple of weeks to have leveled off a little bit. And we're just looking at the earthquake counts around the island, still relatively low, with a few earthquakes out over the past week down near, the volcano formerly known as Loihi. And finally, we'll just look at those air conditions again from the VOG. Oh, that's one too far. That'll do it for our Hawaii volcano summary for the week.